Okay, so today, guys, I'm making a YouTube video reacting to Stranger Things, my second favorite movie. So yeah, let's
Will
react.
faces a monster of his own and is previously on Stranger Things. The season opens with Mike, Dustin, Lucas and Will playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons and fending off a monster they call the Demogorgon. However, on his way home, Will faces a monster of his own and is abducted. The next morning, Will's mum Joyce and his brother Jonathan realise he's not there and start to panic. At school, the boys also realise Will is missing while being bullied by a couple of mouth...
Yes, Will got taken by a monster to the upside down, so sorry for
breathers. We then meet Mike's sister Nancy and her best friend Barb, who's concerned about Nancy's new relationship with the school heartthrob Steve.
I should have skipped that, guys. I'm so
Introduced to the local sheriff Jim Hopper, who Joyce talks to about Will's disappearance. Meanwhile, a local government facility is suiting up and venturing into an alien-looking gateway, and we learn that a young girl recently escaped the facility.
That's 11, and she has superpowers.
Her name is 11. 11 sneaks into a nearby diner for something to eat and makes friends with the owner of the...
Yeah, and he got shot right in the head because he knew that girl.
Establishment. We learn that 11 has special abilities before the owner is murdered and 11 escapes once again. The boys are told not to go looking for their friend as the search escalates. Joyce receives a shocking phone call from Will and the boys go looking for Will despite their warning to come across 11 instead. They take 11 home to Mike's house where she sleeps the night in the basement. Mike learns of the bad men coming after 11 and 11
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's actually right. But they don't catch Mike.
The basics of modern life before recognizing Will in one of Mike's pictures. In a flashback, we're showing the awful test that 11 has been put through because of her powers, and the leader of the operation, Dr. Brenner, is seen as her fatherly figure, who she calls Papa. The boys then learn of 11's powers as Hopper continues searching for Will, who 11 explains is in a place known as the Upside Down, being held prisoner by the Demogorgon. Elsewhere, Nancy and Barb attend a party at Steve's parents' house, which Barb does not approve of. Nancy then ditches Barb.
Okay, let's not see this part, guys, but
before she is photographed by Jonathan and disappears into the night. Joyce receives shocking phone call number 2 and discovers that Will is talking to her through the electricity.
That's because when someone is in the upside down, the lights begin to flick. I don't know how, but they can talk, but they can't hear. Yeah.
Let's just say her household gets pretty lit. Hopper starts investigating the government facility and Nancy realizes that Barb is missing. Joyce meanwhile makes progress contacting Will before the Demogorgon reveals itself to her. Hopper discovers the facility is caught up in multiple lawsuits, but all hope is soon lost when Will's dead body is recovered from a river.
Okay, stop that part because Will isn't dead and that's not his body, and don't think it is because it is not.
However, 11 manages to tune into Will singing on Mike's walkie-talkie. Joyce and Jonathan identify Will's body, but Joyce refuses to believe the corpse is her son. The police start looking into Barb's disappearance, and Nancy and Jonathan admit to each other that they saw a faceless creature the night Barb vanished. The boys prepare 11 to be taken out in public, and they all attend a school.
Wow, Mike, she's so pretty. I want to kiss her. Oh my god.
Assembly for Will, where 11 teaches the mouth breathers a lesson. Hopper starts to connect the dots and discovers Will's body is a fake. He breaks into the facility and discovers what is really going down there. Then suddenly wakes up in his house where he finds a bug in his light fixture. Nancy and Jonathan go looking for the faceless creature and the kids go looking for the entrance to the upside.
Bro, it's called the Demogorgon. I've watched this movie 5 times.
Down, which 11 stops them from finding for their own safety. Nancy finds the entrance before confronting the Demogorgon, then is saved by Jonathan, who Steven is getting jealous of. After sabotaging the boys' plan, 11 runs away and steals some Eggos, which is her favourite food, from a local grocery store. Hopper confirms Joyce's suspicions and they talk to a severely disabled woman who lost her daughter to the government facility. Nancy and Jonathan equip themselves to fight the Demogorgon before Jonathan is arrested for fighting Steve. Hopper and Joyce then team up with Nancy and Jonathan as they are looking for the same enemy. The boys have an encounter with their bullies which causes Mike to
that's
jump
my
off a
favorite
cliff.
part of
However, he is
the whole
saved
movie.
by Eleven, who returns and breaks the bully's arm. However, the bad men track down the children who are now on the run, and Eleven...
Okay, guys, let's just skip this part.
and are near the point of success. Meanwhile,
Whoa.
team up with Nancy and Jonathan as they are looking for the same enemy. The boys have an encounter with their bullies which causes Mike to jump off a cliff. However, he is saved by Eleven, who returns and breaks the bully's arm.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Hopper and Joyce break into the facility to find Will before they are captured by security. Hopper then makes a deal with them to allow Joyce and him into the Upside Down. While in there, we see flashbacks of Hopper's daughter who died of cancer at a young age. Nancy, Jonathan and Steve lure the Demogorgon to the house and try to trap it, but fail. Mike confesses his true feelings for Eleven before the bad men arrive to take her away, but are interrupted by the Demogorgon who kills them all. Joyce finds Will on the...
Wait, stop that part. The Doctor doesn't die. He comes back in the 4th season, guys. Don't think he's dead like me. I was really dumb.
brink of death, but Hopper resuscitates him. Eleven grows weak but uses her last ounce of strength to disintegrate the Demogorgon, taking her with it. Will recovers in hospital and Hopper is seen getting into a government vehicle. 1 month later and we again see the boys playing, but Mike still misses Eleven. Nancy ends up back with Steve and Will is still suffering from his experience in the Upside Down. Hopper is then seen leaving Eggos in the woods.
Now we find 11 and 11, yeah.
We're first introduced to a girl who can make people see what she wants them to see, and she reveals a tattoo just like Eleven's. Mike, Dustin, Lucas and Will head down to their local arcade where they find a player named Mad Max has beaten their high score in Dig Dug, when suddenly Will experiences the Upside Down and witnesses something emerging in the sky before snapping out of his trance. Hopper is back at work and being pestered by a local conspiracy theorist who is starting to piece things together regarding Eleven and the facility, but Hopper dismisses him to look into a local farmer's pumpkin patch that's been poisoned. We're introduced to Billy and his younger sister Max, who the boys...
Oh, guys, that's Max, and she has a bad brother.
discover is the notorious Mad Max who beat their high score. Joyce has a new boyfriend named Bob and is trying to get some answers about Will's recent episodes in the Upside Down. Dr. Owens is Will's specialist who also supervises the maintaining of the Upside Down gateway, preventing it from spreading. Nancy and Steve visit Barb's parents' house, who just hired a private investigator to help find their daughter, which overwhelmed...
Bro, why doesn't Nancy just say that she's
Nancy
dead?
with guilt. Jonathan tries to cheer Will up before he has another episode and witnesses the Shadow Monster. Hopper retreats to a cabin in the woods where him and Eleven are currently residing. Eleven escaped the Upside Down and now Hopper won't let her leave the cabin in order to keep her safe. Joyce discovers Will's drawings and alerts Hopper, who is the only person she can trust. The boys are the only ones that dress up for Halloween but try to enlist Max into their group. We learn that her brother is bad news and he threatens to run the boys over with his car. Hopper looks further into the poison crops in the area and finds a pattern. Joyce and Bob fantasize about moving away to escape these events, and Nancy confesses to Steve that their relationship is bullshit. Joyce gets fired up, and so do John and Nancy. Hopper recovers after his experience and is shown the full scale of the Upside Down tunnels. The gang meet up at the junkyard to take care of these demo dogs, and Steve saves the day. The monster inside Will ambushes the workers in the tunnels, and Eleven learns of her long-lost sister who was raised in the facility with her. Carly, aka 8, and her gang of vigilantes spend their time is the way that he is, and Nancy and Jonathan return to help out back at the facility. Bob sacrifices himself so the rest can escape, and Dustin points out that the Shadow Monster displays traits of a Mind Flayer, which means that Will feels what it feels. The demo dogs return, but so does Eleven, and she's reunited with Mike, but there's some tension between her and Max, but a different type of tension between Billy and Mike's mum. Eleven returns to the facility to end things once and for all. Max takes down Billy and the heat gets turned up on Will. The gang destroy the tunnels and demo dogs while Eleven uses everything she has to finally close the door on the Upside Down. 1 month later and Barb is finally laid to rest and Hopper officially adopts Eleven. Back at school, everyone attends the snowball. Dustin strikes out twice before Nancy swoops in. Mike and Eleven share a long-awaited kiss and all is well in Hawkins. least for now. A Russian base is working on a super weapon to open up the gateway between our world and the Upside Down, and are near the point of success. Meanwhile, Mike and Eleven's relationship is going strong, much to the disgust of Hopper. The gang minus Dustin, who is at camp, meets up at Hawkins' brand new hotspot, Starcourt Mall, where we meet Steve's Scoops Ahoy work colleague, Robin. But we're in
I don't like
and Eleven fights the monster inside of Billy. The kids escape, but the people of Hawkins aren't so lucky. Dustin and gang attempt to find a way out of this newfound base, while Joyce and Hopper try to find a way in and kidnap the Russian scientist Dr. Alexei. But as usual, someone is right behind them. Joyce tries to get information out of Alexei without success, and they try to find their way back to town. Steve and friends find a way out of the elevator of the Russian base, and Alexei finds his way to 7-Eleven. The kids discover what Billy has been up to, and Hopper and friends enlist the help of conspiracy theorist Murray, who turns out was pretty accurate with his conspiracies. The kids go to the hospital where the old rat lady inside her, and she must remove it. The gang is then reunited and learn the Russian superweapon needs to be shut down to close the gate between the two worlds. It's Hopper, Joyce and Murray's turn to go underground, and Dustin once and for all, two people were needed. However, Hopper is delayed fighting the Russian henchmen. Eleven reminds Billy of who he really is by showing him the memories she saw.
Go to hell. And that's the monster, guys. That's the greatest monster. Rip Billy. Oh, I can't wait for the first season. That's really fire, bro. That's a monster that shatters bodies in the air and falls down. Bye-bye, Hopper. Rip you, but the monster's also dead. Why isn't he talking? Oh, that's so sweet. Skip to the fourth season. Now.
Forward to 1986 in Lenora Hills, California, Dungeons and Dragons meeting known as the Hells of the Upside Down. Or are they? We meet the leader of the Hellfire Club, Eddie Munson, who is no friend of the jocks. Nancy is busy working on a newspaper with fellow reporter Fred. Chrissy leaves school grounds and heads into the forest where she sees a grandfather clock extruding out of a tree, but is interrupted by Eddie, who is selling her drugs, much to his surprise as she is a model student. Back in California, Eleven's bullying is escalating and leads to Eleven attempting to use her powers against the main bully, Angela, leading to further ridicule. Joyce receives a suspicious parcel in the mail which contains a Russian doll. Unsure what to do, she calls Murray for advice, who tells her there's probably something inside the doll. Scared that it may be dangerous, Joyce smashes the doll open, and during the D&D session, the plot around him anymore. Eddie yells for Chrissy to wake up, but it's too late. The next day, police arrive at the scene and speak to Eddie's uncle, and there is no sign of Eddie anywhere, just Chrissy's mangled body. In California, Mike comes to visit Eleven, and there's an awkward tension between him and Will, but Mike isn't the only one coming to town. Lucas is feeling sorry for himself after partying too hard the night before, and the police arrive to talk to Jason. News of the apparent murder has reached Nancy and Fred, who decide to investigate, and Max talks to Dustin about what she saw the night she left Chrissy, and he wants vengeance. Dustin and Max recruit Steve and Robin and fill them in on what they think is going on. They then get to work on finding where Eddie makes school begin to understand. Nearby, Fred's Max and company find Eddie in an old boat shed and fill them in on what they know, and who resides in the attic of a house in the Upside Down surrounded by demo bats.
Have you noticed
The military pays Dr. Owens a visit as Eleven has had a similar MO in the past and is likely to have more information, which he does not share. After a traumatic time at the skate rink, the kids return home and are greeted by Murray, and Eleven is reminded of the massacre at Hawkins' lab. Lucas finds himself caught up in the Jock's plan to track down Eddie, who is still hiding out with the gang in the boat shed. Nancy is questioned about the events surrounding Fred's death before joining the rest of the gang to figure out how all this could happen. Mike and Eleven fight as she feels she's nothing without her powers, and Mike disagrees. Eleven then pointing out the fact that he never says that he loves her, but then the police arrive and take Eleven away for assaulting Angela. Nancy is filled in on what is known so far, and Max recalls seeing Chrissy in the bathroom before her death. The gang split up to find out more information, and Nancy and Rob, Dr. Owens, Nancy and Rob, and Mike are attacked and their guards are overcome. They make a quick escape with one of the injured guards in Argyle's van. Yuri explains his plan to Joyce and Murray, whilst Hopper hides away in a nearby building, but he is promptly caught. Reminds her of happier times and assists her in breaking free of Vecna's grasp.
I guess he died. That would be fun.
Still on the run, the guard passes away in the back of Argyle's van, and the military, finding letters between Mike and Eleven, are hot on their tail. Eleven is taken to a compound in Nevada, where Eleven awakes to crime in Hawkins' lab. In Russia, Joyce and Murray overpower you, tells her of the importance for her to be there, and she agrees to continue with the experiment. The military, meanwhile, are becoming increasingly desperate to get their hands on Eleven. The police begin investigating the death on the lake, and the crew informs Eddie that he is likely to be blamed again. And they would be correct, as Jason tries to get the joined by Eddie, Nancy and Robin, who help him to find off Vecna's demo bats before venturing further into just before she's being blamed, who banishes him to just 11, and Peter's escape plan is foiled. But Peter is not who he appears to be. Those in the Upside Down climb out of there, but Nancy is caught just before she can escape, and finds herself an observer in Vecna's memories, showing that the child of Victor Creel was the cause of the events that occurred to them, leaving Victor the one being blamed. Eleven follows Peter through the lab and now sees the true reason the massacre occurred. Eleven tries to stop Peter, who fights back but ultimately is overcome by Eleven, who banishes him to the Upside Down, and Vecna's true identity is revealed.
Number 1.
Those that escape the Upside Down desperately try to get Nancy back, who narrowly escapes Vecna before waking up. In Russia, Hopper, Joyce, Murray and Enzo regroup and try to find a way out of the prison, whilst the Demogorgon is on the prowl. While searching the prison, they find other creatures from the Upside Down that are being kept on the premises before they find a way out. Eleven's powers have officially returned thanks to the revelation she had about her past and Vecna. Meanwhile, Jonathan, Argyle, Mike and Will are headed to the coordinates they were given. On their way, Will gives Mike a painting he has been working on, which represents Mike being the hero of the group, and that everyone stands behind him. Will's feelings appear to be deeper than what he's letting on, and he's not telling Mike the whole truth. Nancy tells the gang what she saw whilst in Vecna's mind, and Eleven now has the ability to telepathically see what the group is doing and saying. The Russian crew finally escapes the prison, and they force Yuri to help them escape the country, as he has another aircraft that may be able to help them. In Hawkins, the gang realise they're going to need more firepower to face Vecna and steal an RV to head to a gun store. On the way, Steve confesses that he has always had feelings for the facility with desert. However, they're spotted by a military helicopter and Brenner is shot down. Just before shooting Eleven, Argyle's van is spotted heading their way to rescue Eleven, but it would appear she does not need much help. Eleven is reunited with the group and says her last goodbyes to Papa before narrowly escaping the military. Back in Hawkins, the crew is split up in their plan to defeat Vecna. Max, Erica, and Vecna, whilst Jason is hunting them. Argyle thinks of a way to make a makeshift salt bath at the local Surfer Boy pizza franchise, stalked by Vecna, now trapped in her memory of the snowball. Back in the Russian prison, they find all the creatures have now escaped, as parts of the Upside Down have leaked into the facility and resuscitated them, making them a lot more difficult to eliminate. In Max's memory, Eleven finds a table out of place belonging to the snowball, which leads her to believe that that's where Max is. Jason arrives at the attic and accuses Lucas of harming Max, as she's unresponsive. Hopper and Joyce say their goodbyes as Hopper goes to face the Upside Down creatures, and the vines in the Upside Down trap the trio in the Creel house. Dustin and Eddie prepare to fight the Demobats before making their escape, but Eddie decides to stay behind to lure them away from the gateway. Lucas and Erica attempt to fight off the jocks, and Vecna arrives at the snowball to meet Max, but they're not alone. Eddie lures the bats away as far as possible, and Dustin re-enters the Upside Down to assist him, and Eddie stands his ground. Eleven fights Vecna but is thrown into his memories alongside Max. Vecna tells the story of how he came to do the Mind Flayer's bidding before taking hold of Max.
Bye-bye. He died.
It was time to defeat Vecna.
Explode him.
Who was over.
Bye-bye, guys. See you at the next
The entire group